Iran has warned European leaders of consequences if they were seen to be playing a role in reactivating the UN sanctions on Iran due to the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. Elsewhere, Pakistan has issued a chilling warning to the US and Israel amidst speculations that both these countries could target Islamabad's nuclear arsenal next. Now, let's look at these events in greater detail. Even though both Trump and war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu have bragged about obliterating Iran's nuclear program, the two rogue individuals have continued to issue veiled warnings to Tehran over the same obliterated nuclear program.
On Iran,
You tell me when it gets boring, okay?
on Iran, if Iran,
Are you from Iran?
no, I'm not from Iran. I'm from the UK. But if the intelligence reports conclude that Iran can enrich uranium to a level that concerns you,
Yeah.
would you consider bombing the country
Sure.
again?
Without question,
And
absolutely.
have you had any
Turned out to
conversations?
be unbelievable. But, our incredible flyers and I call them the shots. These guys are unbelievable. Think from 52,000 feet, they hit the equivalent of a refrigerator door. They actually hit it right in the center.
Bloodthirsty terrorist Netanyahu, who is facing an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, has now shifted his focus from the Iranian nuclear program to its imaginary intercontinental ballistic missiles, potentially carrying nuclear warheads. This is what this evil monster, the darling of the right wing US administration and its media, told Fox News during his recent visit.
That regime has a built-in DNA, and that DNA says no America and no Israel, which stands in the way of getting to America. They want to develop long-range ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads to threaten you and threaten every American. And that's what has been stopped. And it's for the good of all Americans, for the great majority that understand it and for the small minority that doesn't. They've been now safeguarded by our common action.
This war criminal knows his audience and compromised American lawmakers too well. He knows it would be difficult for him to instill fear amongst Americans about Iran's nuclear program after claiming that it's been destroyed. So he's now started a new bogey on Iran's imaginary intercontinental missile program. He now wants to link the imaginary Iranian threats directly with the US. And he knows that the Americans would fall for his fear mongering tactics easily. But whilst politicians can follow his genocidal agenda because they have sold their conscience in exchange for a few $1,000s, ordinary people may no longer be fooled by this terrorist from the settler colony. Netanyahu has now activated his slaves in the Europe to exert pressure on Iran so that the Islamic Republic can allow access to the IAEA inspectors and its chief, Rafael Grossi, to its nuclear program. European countries are reportedly threatening Iran to reimpose the UN sanctions on the country if it doesn't respect Europe's whims and fancies. But Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi is in no mood to entertain such threats from Europe. He has warned Europe that any snapback of United Nations sanctions on the country, and I quote, would signify the end of Europe's role in the Iranian nuclear dossier, end quote. You may remember that Iran has signed a nuclear deal with Europe and the US in 2015, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. But Trump rejected the deal in 2018. A clause in the deal allows for UN sanctions to be reimposed if Tehran breaches the deal. But pay attention to Araghchi's words. Not only has he warned Europe of becoming irrelevant in future talks related to Iran's nuclear program, but he's also made it clear that any future nuclear talks would not include Iran's military capability linked to its nuclear program. He said, and I quote, if negotiations are held, the subject of the negotiations will be only nuclear and creating confidence in Iran's nuclear program in return for the lifting of sanctions. Araghchi told diplomats. No other issues will be subject to negotiations. End quote. Now, this is big. Iran's changed approach post Israel and Trump's illegal war on Tehran has been quite phenomenal. The country passed a law cutting off ties with the IAEA, accusing the nuclear watchdog and its compromised chief of spying for Israel. The Islamic Republic then reportedly embarked on an alliance with China to rebuild its air defense system. And all along, Araghchi cleverly agreed with Trump and terrorist Netanyahu on the destruction of Iran's nuclear program. Faced with his spectacular failure on the war of narratives, Netanyahu is fast running out of patience. Attacking Iran was his trump card, pun intended. But not only has he exhausted that card, but this has backfired for him spectacularly as Iran inflicted unimaginable pain on the settler colony by pounding key Israeli targets with ballistic and hypersonic missiles. So that his project Greater Israel remains relevant, there are reports that both Trump and Netanyahu wouldn't hesitate to attack Pakistan nuclear arsenal. A top Pakistani general was asked about this, and his response was a chilling warning to anyone even contemplating such a move.
Whatsoever in the military that Pakistan can become the next target. Absolutely no concern. It's because there's a sea of difference between these two countries and Pakistan. We are an established and declared nuclear power. And the world has no experience of going to or even attempting to go into a misadventure against an established nuclear power. And if such a misadventure is taken or attempted to, then it will lead to horrific consequences which the world may not be able to endure. Hence, I have said it before, I will say it again very clearly, that seeking military space for conflict with an established nuclear power for elusive objectives is absurd, sheer stupidity, and inconceivable.
The world is heading to a disaster of epic proportions with a convicted felon and an indicted war criminal refusing to end their genocidal aspirations, first in Gaza, then Lebanon, then Syria, then Yemen, Iran, and now possibly Pakistan, as reported by many media outlets. They have to be stopped. There are no two ways about it. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you do think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.